Wreford. It's a
Wreford?
weird yeah, Wreford. It's a weird spelling. It's a silent W basically. Almost say it like it's REE. It's a very very old surname. Comes from the Cornish corner of England. Um, Cornish has its own language. It's not actually English. It was kind of, as you might imagine, as the country united way back in the annals of history in the year 800 or whatever it was. Cornish and English kind of merged. There you go. Yeah, that's where my surname comes from. Rose, I'm
Oh.
assuming, is a European surname, Chris.
Yeah, yeah, we're down from the Tudor family.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm gonna completely oversimplify this, but I tried to watch through some of your videos, get a feel for, the I guess the type of training you're doing, and it seems like
Hmm.
you're pretty big on just giving the dog the experience and giving them time to figure things out. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess what more would you add to that?
Yeah. That's a pretty good short summary of what I do. I am all about facilitating the dog having the experiences it needs to overcome fears of things, get used to environments it's not used to, and build confidence to be able to navigate the world using its own smarts to do so. Um, I don't claim to train dogs. I don't really do that. I don't teach dogs to sit, stay, roll over, or fetch, or anything like that. I deal with dogs, generally speaking, that have got issues where they're either attacking other things, chasing wildlife, neurotic behaviors like relentlessly chasing cars, doing crazy things in the house like biting guests when they come over. But generally, what I do is I try and seek out the cause of what's causing that behavior. And most of the time, what I find is common patterns of chronic levels of under exercise and under stimulation, and massively under socialized to the world around them. They just don't understand how it works or how to navigate environments without losing their temper or getting scared. So that's what I focus on. I just focus on curbing all of that. I don't teach the dogs any activity. Just, you could call it self-paced learning. I'm there as a facilitator. That's what I do, and use my dogs to bring other dogs into the fold of, you don't need to freak out about other dogs. Here's some big ass dogs. You can freak out. You can bite them. You can lunge at them. They'll deal with you as dogs do. And that's where I go. Just try and give dogs those experiences to see the world and calm down. Essentially, that's what everyone wants, is just a calm dog that they can either have guests over in their house, or they can go out for a walk without having their shoulder ripped out of its joint, or without their dog trying to start fights or chase and kill wildlife. That's what I tend to focus on. These topics.
Gotcha. So generally speaking, would you say that when you add some exercise, a little bit of play, and then just general exposure, that just seems to the problems seem to solve themselves after that, they kind of just fades away.
We're going to have work in a sec, so the work just pulled up at the house. That's really good. Actual and two livestock. It's fantastic. Why there's a crane outside my house? This is weird. There is all sorts of kit on top of it. Weird. All right, thanks, dogs. Bye. Bye. Thank you. That's enough. They're going to be there a while. Chill. Thanks. Yeah, you did a good job. Thank you, boy. I know. Yeah, they're going to be there for an hour, so we might have to move upstairs if they get too crazy. Sorry. What were you
You're fine.
asking?
Let's see. Generally speaking, would you say that, when you add the exercise and play along with the general exposure, that seems to make most of the problems just kind of fade away?
There's a yes, but with a third prong to it. So both of those things are true. The additional one is getting the owner involved. So a lot of what I see is that owners are worried about their dog's capabilities, worried about what the dog's going to do. And so when they're out handling their dog, there's a vicious circle of fear going on. The dog's worried about stuff, the owner's worried about stuff. So it just spirals into nobody's in charge, nobody's running the show, everything's going wrong, and everybody's panicking. So what I do when I can get the dog to just be calm, having done some exercise, having gone into environments that are sometimes challenging for it, got it to just be able to relax in those scenarios, have the owner come along and say, hey, look here, or show them on video first, usually, because I film what I do. Show the owner the dog being calm, successful in an environment they usually struggle. Chat to the owner about why that is, what I've had to do to make those adjustments, if anything. It's not usually a lot other than add more exercise and a little bit more, I use the word carefully, structure. Um, and by that, I mean, if the dog's just pulling my ass off on the leash and I'm like, we're not doing that. We're just going to keep stopping, and we're not going to let the dog get it all at once if it's just being a crazy lunatic on the end of the leash. But we need to understand why. But that's an aside. So yeah, when I get there and it's like, you're worried. I can see you're worried about this scenario, because here I am on video with your dogs in these scenarios, and I'm not getting any of these reactions. And it's because I'm relaxed, I'm calm, and your dog has realized I'm relaxed and I'm calm. Now it's able to go forward into that environment, not freak out. Meeting dogs is the most obvious. Most of the clients I have say my dog's got issues meeting dogs. They can't do it. They either get reactive or they get bitey, not full on aggressive. I've only had a couple of those, but they get bitey or they just get scared, roll over and pee themselves or whatever it is, or just freak out in general. My last client with the cow dog, she's a very confrontational dog. Of course, it's a cat. Of course, it's a confrontational dog. It loves a bit of confrontation. And the client was like, I can't meet other dogs with my dog. It just lunges and tries to bite. And so I took the dogs out for a couple of sessions, had them meet. I didn't know this at the time. The first dogs I met with them, the nemesis dogs that lives on the next street, they couldn't meet behind the fence. I didn't know who they were. They were just a lady walking two dogs towards me when I had my client's two dogs. We went and met two dogs. Hers looked fine on the end of the leash. They looked interested. They weren't lunging. They weren't barking. The hackles weren't crazy up. I just went and met these two dogs. Cool, easy. I showed her the video, and she was like, "How'd you do that?" I just went and met the dogs. And it's like that little conversation. I can do stuff with the dogs there in the car, and I realize, right, owner, you're probably the problem. Let's discuss how you're feeling when you do this, what your previous experiences have been that have led you to be worried about meeting another dog. Brody, the hound staff I work with, he's a really good example of that. So when the owner's home, he will run around the house and bark, just like these two do, at anything that's going on out the front of the house. When the owner went away on holiday and I stayed at his house, and when I go around now, nothing. He doesn't do that. He doesn't run around and bark. He doesn't try to be head of security. If somebody comes onto the property, like the mailman, and put post in the post box or to collect the bins when the bin man comes, he doesn't react at all because I'm in charge. And it's explaining to the owner how you get that leadership quality, but also a partnership way with your dog, where you don't have to shout at them to achieve something. You don't have to discipline them with physical corrections, is the word that's commonly used in the industry, to get that. It's more of a personality. You've got a leader thing about you where the dog just respects who you are, and so doesn't feel the need to try and step up and take control, which is generally what reactivity is in my experience. Is the dog not knowing who's in charge, feeling the worry from the owner on the other end of the leash and going, okay, I'm not comfortable with this, you're worried, I'm worried, let's just make this stuff go away. And then you get your reactivity pop out. So yeah, that's exercise, big part of it. Most of the dogs I've come across massively under exercised. The funniest one was a little English staffy. Gus was his name. I took him on his assessment session. He was chasing cars. Owner didn't know that's what he was doing. They just thought he was having a meltdown on a junction, because he had to cross one side of the road, wait in the middle, and then he crossed the other side of the road. And he was losing his mind at this junction. It took me 10 seconds to work out, he's just chasing the car. That's what he's doing. See a car come in, go to that end of the leash. The car would go zooming past, and then he'd run back and hit the end of the leash. Right, okay, well, we're not going to solve this right now. Fine, let's go find out what else is up with you. So across the road, carried on walking. Then he started to do a poo. He didn't stop walking. He just walked and pooed. I have never ever seen that in my life with a dog. He was just walking and pooing. Okay, you are absolutely chronically under-exercised. There is so much crazy energy stuck within you. You are just desperate to move forward. And he was pulling like a train. It was only an English staff. He's not a big dog. And he was just pulling like a train for the whole time. Like, okay, I see what the issue is. And it didn't take me long. It took 5 minutes to figure this one out. So then we went to a football oval, and I just worked with him. Like, he was just so desperate to get into that oval and start running around. I'm not doing that. You're being an absolute jerk on the end of this leash. Not having it. Just not going to have this. We will spend 20 minutes if it takes 20 minutes, or an hour if it takes an hour. I'm going to stand my ground here and wait for you to walk nicely with me into this oval. And yeah, that was the clue. So I told the owner, like, this is what's going on with your dog. He needs a hell of a lot more exercise. Let's do this, that, the other. Actually, they've got a treadmill in their house. Like, get on a freaking treadmill. Like, if you've got nothing else for him to do, get on the treadmill. Just do something with him to get him running, get him moving. If you've got a flirt pole or other activities he likes, what does he like to do? He likes to chase ball. Okay, go do that. Like, take him to the oval or somewhere suitable. Get a couple of things out he likes to do. Get him running. Get him really running. Then think about starting to take him for a walk, and not necessarily right immediately afterwards. You're not trying to just kill your dog, but get him to do something which fulfills that need he has to go running and get this energy out. Because a dog that's just walking along and defecating is not right in the head. That's very bizarre behavior. So it's kind of like just spotting what the behavior patterns are and informing owners what they can do to overcome that. And when you've got a husband and wife and you've got two different behaviors from the dog, it kind of explaining why that's going on. So the dog was behaving better for the husband than it was for the wife. The husband's just a bit more authoritative, didn't really put up with the crap, but more physically strong, and was kind of doing the right thing. You just stop. The dog was just being a jerk. You should stop walking. Yeah, exactly. Just do that. If the dog's being a jerk on the end of the leash, you stop walking. But understand that's not a long-term solution if you're not meeting the need of your dog. If you're not letting it go and do the exercise it needs to do, you will never correct the pulling on that walk because he's just telling you something. He's telling you something's missing in his life.
Gotcha. So we got a few comments in here. I don't know if you can see them or not. First of all,
Oh yeah.
hello to everybody that said hello. And what we're doing here, we're having a conversation. We tend to believe that we're in different teams as far as dog training goes, but neither one of us really do like a lot of obedience training. It's more focused on behavior. So that's what our discussion is going to be about. Um, right now, we're just trying to get a feel for how each other does things because we don't really know each other. We don't follow each other. We don't have enough of history to really know what each other thinks. So we're trying to get that established now. Um, as far as your mindset, dude, I love it, and I'm the same way in a lot of ways, and I think that that's really why I'm so successful is because everything I do is based around just letting the dog think. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm.
In any
Yeah.
situation, if you expose the dog to it enough, eventually they'll figure out that it's either irrelevant or you know what I mean, that it's nothing to worry. They're gonna figure something out about it and they're gonna change their reaction. Because
Yep.
unlike people, dogs are not gonna do the same thing over and over and over. It doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
I would say a large majority of what I do is right along the lines of what you're talking about.
Okay.
For most people, for most dogs that well, maybe in the beginning. Here lately, dude, the last for like 5 years, I've had those 2% dogs, if you know what I mean, and it's been a hell of a time. But before that,
Mm,
when I was just working with the average dog, your leash pulling, they're a little bit reactive, what normal people call aggressive.
mhm.
Usually we'd go out there, work them out a little bit. We'd add just a little bit of obedience to a game or something like that. But the obedience, I don't really find it that useful in real life. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like
mm.
besides recall,
Yep.
like if your dog knows
Okay.
recall, I think you can get through life just fine. I don't use sits, downs, handstands. I don't use none of that stuff in real life.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah. No. No.
I don't spend much time on it, but that type of work does help us build the relationship a little bit. And the only difference that I could really see, right offhand is that well, all right, let me not assume. So what happens when you're in a situation where like the dog is they're very adamant that they want to get to this other dog or this person or whatever it is, and no matter how long you try to give them time or stand there with them, if anything, the behavior might be getting worse, but it's not getting any better. At what point do you implement some sort of interference, whether it be discipline, punishment, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. Um, I haven't yet reached that point. So with every dog that I've worked with, and it's partly because I involve my own dogs in when we've got dog issues. But when we're out in public and I've got a dog that hyperfixates on other dogs and is starting to strain at the leash, I will literally stand there and outlast the dog. The longest I've had to do that for, I think, was about 10 minutes. And usually because we're out in public, I don't have my own facility. Other people don't tend to just stand there and watch what I'm doing when I'm standing there with the dog, which is quite
Right.
clearly staring the hell out of their dog and looking like it might not be too friendly about it. The last long session I can remember doing that wasn't really that long. That was the cattle dog and the GSP when I was walking them together. They were trying to tell me they wanted to do something, and that was 4.5 minutes of me facing the opposite direction to them, doing nothing and saying nothing, and just waiting for them to give in. That was it. That's all I did. They didn't ever spend longer than that, even when confronted with other dogs. That they were generally good with other dogs. It was just a bit of owner nervousness, and I never saw any issues with them with other dogs. Rhodey, he is not a hyperfixator for any length of time. So he's the guy that's been in fights. The Amstaff has been in fights and generally has issue with other dogs. He will fixate, but he won't last for longer than about 30 seconds to a minute, even if the dog's kind of static. I just face the other way, just take a step away from him and wait for him. He's not very long at doing that. So I haven't come across a dog that is able to exclude the entire world and just fixate on this one thing until the world ends. I've not experienced that. I haven't come across a dog at that level of I will stare at you until the cows come home. And that's just not something I've seen. The once the dog kind of works out that I'm just not engaged with what they're staring at, they tend to give up and just move on with me. How much that is my direct influence and just pointing in a different direction and being calm versus how much of is the dog getting bored, I'm not sure, and it's going to vary with every individual dog because they're all different. They've all had different experiences in life. But that's where I'm at with that. I don't get into the correction space yet. I have had to pull a dog away, but that's when an owner's made a mistake and they've slipped the leash, and a dog that's not looking very friendly at the dog I've got with me has kind of started coming right at us. Yeah, time to go. See ya. Because not every dog out there is friendly. Like I might be working a dog that's not friendly, but a member of the public 20 meters away from me might also have a dog that's
Right.
not very friendly. And when things look like they might be going a bit wrong, it's like, oh yeah, okay, time to go. We'll be shifting on here. The last time that happened with an owner, the owner was not strong enough for the dog they had, and I was with them. And I said, just stand there, do nothing. Let's hold this leash. That person's going to be gone past in a minute. Don't worry about it. Their dog started dragging them across the street. Oh, crap. This is not what I expected to see. And then I kind of hit me like, okay, you can't actually handle your dog. Your dog is stronger than you, and your dog has issues when it gets to other dogs. That is not a good mix. Yeah, that was difficult. I had to say that, oh no, the way you are scared of your dog, scared of your dog's capabilities, and the fact you can't physically hold on is a big problem. I don't think you will ever have the dog you're seeking to have because you will never get over the fear that you can't stop your dog. Your dog could, and your dog could walk you out in front of a car or a bus at any moment and you can't stop it. The only thing you could do is let go of that leash and let your dog die to save yourself because there's nothing you can do to stop it. Yes, I can help you and I can get your dog to not feel the need to do that, but I can't transfer that to you until you can stop being scared of your dog. If I
Right.
fix your dog for you and give it back to you within 3 weeks, you'll have exactly the same problems you've got right now because it's not a dog problem, it's a you problem. It's a hard conversation to have, a really hard conversation to have. And it's happened more than once. Another Tibetan Mastiff owner client is in the same boat. He's got a dog, not a huge Tibetan Mastiff. He's a young pup still at 2 years old. These dogs the males aren't considered mature till they're 3 to 4 years old. They're still growing at 3 years old to 4 years old as well. Mine certainly was. He reached his peak weight at about 4. Um, he got a little bit fat after that, so we had to diet him. But yeah, so when this he's my sort of age chap, but he's not as big as me. He's not a 6'2", 190-pound guy. And when his Tibetan Mastiff is having reactions on the end of the leash, which it was, I can see like the grip strength in his forearm starting to give out, and he's starting to get dragged. this is the same as before. You've got a dog you can't handle, you can't hold on, and it's causing you to be scared, it's causing you to be worried. Now your dog's picking up on that and it's making everything worse. Um, yes, I can help you. This is how we're going to have to do it, but you're going to have to get a bit more physical, I'm afraid, sir. Because if you can't hold on, you're never going to overcome your fear. If you can't overcome your fear, you're never going to be able to have a good dog, because your dog will react to the fear of you, because your dog cares what you feel, your dog cares what you think about in the environment. You've got to calm down. And if you can't, because you know you can't hold on, we've got a problem. And that's what we've got to work on. So yeah, I can help you with your dog. Yeah, weird one with this one. So what do we think of this? So this is Tibetan Mastiff male, still got his testicles, completely intact. He's reactive to other dogs. He's not reactive to his father, who's still an intact male. His father's the same age as my dog, Rollo. And he's not reactive to Rollo, who's an intact Tibetan Mastiff. Put him around any other dog, doesn't seem to matter the size, particularly tiny ones he wasn't that bothered with, but anything bigger than like a Labrador, start losing his mind. I'm like, hang on, I've just watched you meet two intact male dogs bigger than you, and you were just chill. Now we've seen a German Shepherd over there and some other mid-sized dog over there, and you're losing your mind. Like, that confused me for a while. I'm like, what is going on there? Yeah, what do you reckon of that one?
Let me see. How can I explain that? Of course, I'm just guessing because I don't know your dog, but it seems like it's not a same-sex aggression issue. It's not a flat-out dog aggression issue. It seems to be that the dog he sees some threat in a dog of a certain size, right? When he sees a 30-pound dog, he's like you were talking about before we started the live. He's confident. He's a big dog. He's a strong dog. He knows it. So he's not worried about that little 30-pound dog. Now, that German Shepherd, that one's big enough to put up a fight. So that he feels the need to watch out for that one. Like, and I know people that do the same thing. Like, you could go out in public and be at a bar around all these squares and you're perfectly comfortable. And then the guy that walks in with the biker vest on, everybody gets weird. And believe it or not, and instead of being afraid and keeping their mouth shut, a lot of people will start trying to puff their chest up and be more violent because they're afraid. Not saying that the dog is necessarily afraid, but it's fear-based.
It's triggering a fight or flight response, essentially.
Right. And he chooses to fight, usually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of what I settled on. So I settled on the fact the two big lads this dog met are both the same. They're both calm, confident, big dogs. So there was that aura, if you like that word, from Rollo and from the lad's father was just so relaxed and so calm and so confident that the reactive Tibetan was like, I got nothing to worry about, because these guys are just so super calm and confident. He almost just absorbed that feeling around them. And then when he sees other dogs he doesn't know, up to mid-size, like you said, it's unlikely to find that many dogs that are as confident as these two lads. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet for my own dog. It's just the way Rollo is. He is a superbly confident dog. Tora's not the same. Tora is not that confident. She's a little bit more uppity and dominant. She's a bit more willing to go and start a squabble. And she expects other dogs to submit to her when she gives them the hard stare. Rollo and this other Tibetan Mastiff. It's a traditional Nepalese name. So I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. I think it's Gail Wang. Gail Wang. He's just same as Rollo, just so superbly calm and confident. Nothing phases him. Just nothing phases him, just like Rollo. And that I think other dogs pick up on very, very quickly when they're in fairly close vicinity to. So they just chill the hell out. They don't feel the need to do anything stupid. Other dogs, this dog sees extremely unlikely to be that confident, and I think he picks up on that. And that nervousness coupled with the owner, I think, partly causes that. And you're right. Then it goes into this could be a problem, this might not be a problem, or let's just be safe and make it go away by barking and being reactive. That's kind of where I got to with this dog. I've got another couple of sessions coming up with him soon, but we'll see where that goes. I wanted to ask you, so think you consider yourself a balance trainer. Yes, is that fair?
I would love to say yes, but with the explanations I've been hearing from other balance trainers about what they believe balance training is, I'm starting to doubt myself.
Okay.
I feel like balance is a mindset, not necessarily the way they're portraying it as punishment versus reward type of thing. But yeah, generally speaking, I fall in that camp.
Okay. So you do use tools like slip leashes, prong collars, e-collars, that sort of stuff.
Uh, I use e-collars,
Okay.
and I will use a slip lead, but I don't use it as a training tool. It's just a
Okay.
convenience tool. As
Okay.
far as training goes, I generally use a martingale or an e-collar or both together.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think differentiates you from balanced? Can you explain that so I can understand?
Uh, I wish I knew how to explain it, to be honest with you. There's uh well, for one, I feel like a lot of balance trainers are a little too heavy-handed.
Mhm.
And there's also the problem that it's the way they're approaching the situation. The way they're trying to train the dog is more like how you would program a computer than to teach another living animal. They're in this mindset of, I guess you would say, if you do something wrong, they're going to make you sorry for doing something wrong rather than teaching you what you did wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So that
you know,
is that.
when I use punishment, I see people really crank on a leash to give a leash correction, right? And when I do it, it's usually like two fingers, just a tap tap.
Okay.
And you can argue that that's not going to work, and the dog can just blow it off if they want to. But then that's when you go back to the respect and the relationship thing. So I just feel like maybe I'm blessed with time. Like I get to spend more time with the dogs that I train than your average trainer that's doing a 4 or 6 week program. They're spending
Yeah.
an hour a day with the dog, whereas most of the time the dog's living at my house with me.
Okay.
So
Okay. Is that a specific board and train thing you do, or is that just the way it goes? Because
no, it's kind of just how the cards fell. So the way this
yeah.
all started is I used to do nuisance animal control for a living.
Okay.
And it's
Yep.
something you got to hold a special license for. And I take my dog out and, you know, always got compliments on him. So when I moved out to where I live now about 10 years ago, people started dumping off dogs and they were dumping them off like every 2 to 3 weeks. I'd pick them up. Our shelter was over full. So I told them, I said, look, man, they can stay here. I'll find them a home, no problem. Because back then it was easy to rehome dogs.
Yep.
And it didn't take very long before I started to get a reputation. And, everybody that wanted to get rid of a dog, somebody would say, hey, just call Chris. He takes anything.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
before I knew it, I end up with a dog here that I'm not gonna say he was too big for me, man. He was about 68 pounds at his biggest. And I had known him
Okay.
since he was a puppy, but he was a cross
Yep.
between a game bred pit bull and a Rottweiler. And yeah, that really changed some stuff for me.
Yeah. Okay.
It got real serious then. And once people saw
Yeah.
me do that, uh yeah, they just started laying it on thick, and it got so bad I started taking dogs from all over the country. And some of them were able to be rehomed, and some of them ended up living out their whole life here. They're on it.
Thank you. You know who that is. So it turns out the crane is owned by one of our neighbours, or is being rented by one of our neighbours. He lives just across the street over there. Just saw him walking in front of it. Don't know why he's brought a crane home, but well, it's a bit weird. Oh yeah, funny story with that guy. So the driver of that crane, he was the person I realised just how the real deal my dogs are were. So I was The pups were about 7 months old at the time. He had a flatbed truck just parked outside our house in the field. I live right on the edge of suburbia, so like the wilderness is outside my door. He had a flatbed truck parked there, and I was walking home with the two dogs, and I was trying to get the dogs to jump on the back of the flatbed just for someone to do, just for a bit of fun. And he couldn't see the dogs. He saw me hanging around the back of his truck. He came out of his house with an iron bar. I started walking towards us. Rollo clocked him and Dora clocked him, and they just stood right in front of me, formed a little V, and started barking. We're like, "You're not coming here with that. Don't be silly." I'm like, "For goodness sake." Oh, yeah, okay.
Natural instinct.
I got some real dogs here, haven't I? Okay, let's apologize to the truck owner and say sorry. I was just trying to get my dogs to jump on the back of the truck because it would be fun. And well, okay, I'll take them away now. It took both dogs a while to kind of accept this guy wasn't just a plain threat. He only lives like 4 doors down. Um, yeah, that was eye opening. Like I said, the first dogs. So it was wasn't quite sure what to expect, but someone approached me with an iron bar. And yeah, both dogs said, "Nah, no, that's not going to fly, mate. You can take that back over there. Thanks very much." Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, most people aren't gonna try a dog that big, even with a weapon.
No, no, they're not, especially when there's two of them. Even if they're still puppies at the time. How big were they? They were 7 months old. Probably, so I'll think in kilos because it's easier. Probably about 30 and 25 kilos, which would have been what, 70 and 60 pounds, something like that. Um, Rollo now is about 130 pounds, and Tora is very diminutive. She's only, what's she? She's probably tops 90, 94 pounds. She's very, very small for a Tibetan Mastiff. Rollo's about average, so he's not a big one. At 130, he's about average. Yeah, so there's a lot of dog. A lot,
Yeah, it
even when they're
is. It
puppies.
really is.
Yeah, but that was fun. Anyway, so there was a sidetrack. The balance stuff. Okay, so when I started out, I was going down the balanced route. I certainly followed some of the bigger YouTube trainers, like just name drop for a second. I was a fan of Will Atherton and Joel Beckman, um, and followed Tom Davis a little bit too. So I used slip leashes on my dogs, and that just it didn't work. Rollo was just all right with it. It was great, but I'll explain why I said that in a second. Tora, it was just not working for her. She was turning into a reactive nightmare of a dog. We couldn't have people over the house because she'd just lose her mind. Correcting her for it was just making her worse and worse. It was just giving her irritation at the intrusion into the home more power. Wasn't reducing it at all. So when we stopped doing that and switched over to other things, just went back to flat collar and leash and started focusing on the relationship with the dog. That's when things really started changing. Let me give you a quick backstory into part of the reason I went down that route. Route. I put a flat collar and leash on Rollo and walked in town one day after being challenged to do so, having had him on a slip leash for a long time. And the first dog he came across, he just lunged at like a lunatic, which was very embarrassing. I didn't like that. And then 10 seconds later, the same thing happened to someone else. But we were on a footpath bridge then, so it's a much narrower place. But the guy Rollo lunged at, his dog, didn't care. But the guy said to me, "Is this your new rescue dog?" Rollo was 2 years old at this point, approximately. And that was just so embarrassing to me. Like, no, he's not my new rescue dog. This is my dog. I've owned him since he was 8 weeks old. And taking the aversive tool off and giving him the freedom to be, and he showed me exactly what he thought. Right, so 2 years, you've been in a slip leash for a year and a bit. Hasn't actually changed your mind at all in terms of wanting to meet the dogs. So that was the moment I was converted into fully believing Skinner's version of punishment not working, because I just watched it with my own dog. I'd strangled him into compliance perfectly. He could walk past anywhere, anything, anytime, and just be in a heel walk. Great. I thought that was fantastic at the time. And then when I changed to the flat collar and was shown some Skinner, I went, oh, right. So the punishment didn't actually change his mind on what to do. Interesting. Okay, that's it. And then I thought about that in human terms. So like, well, yeah, do you know what? Actually, I've had a speeding ticket in my life more than once. So the punishment of the fine and the points on my license for a speeding ticket didn't stop me speeding. The same with the parking ticket. I've had more than one parking ticket. I was like, okay, so the punishments don't necessarily work. So how do we get a dog or a person to change their behavior? In Rollo's case, it was dead easy. He was telling me, I would just want to meet dogs. And all I had to do with him was, as I do with client dogs, just stand there and so when you're calm, you can have what you want. You can go meet that other dog if the other owner says yes. Of course you can. And that's all it took for him to go back to a flat collar and leash was the knowledge that if he behaves calmly, he can go meet that dog. And he's great at it. He's as you've seen in some of the videos. He's a very social dog. He loves doing that. He's trustworthy off leash in public in most places, not all. Um, for their energy outlet, I do still like to take them hunting rabbits, hares. So if I'm going to go somewhere, I know I'll see that wildlife. I do have to be a little bit more careful. So if I'm going to go somewhere which is a bit urban and I'll see those kind of small animals, which I let them hunt, I'm not going to take them off leash. Too much risk of them going into a road. But if we go somewhere safe, yeah, go do that. But if I take them off leash in public, there's going to be lots of people and dogs. It's not a problem. And we do that regularly. Yeah, that was a curious one. That was an interesting um, experience, and that led me into a whole lot more reading and stuff, a lot more influence into the Tibetan Buddhist breed history, and that's where a lot of my influences of what I do come from. It's a crazy breed, man. They're 58,000 years old. Not many people know that. There's some DNA analysis done by a couple of scientists back in 2008, 2009, somewhere. They did some DNA analysis versus some specimens, wolf specimens they got from the Himalaya permafrost. Yeah, Tibetan Mastiff's 58,000 years old. It's the oldest domestic dog breed we know about on the planet. And allegedly the ancestor of all the Mastiff breeds that are in existence today. But they can't prove that yet. That's still a rumor. They can't prove it, but that's what the science is suggesting. That Tibetan Mastiffs were the first Mastiff breed dog, even though they're not actually true Mastiffs. To make that make sense, they're actually mountain dogs. They're not Mastiffs at all. The closest relatives
Oh,
they have are things like the Great Pyrenees, the Turkish Caucasian, the Central Asian Shepherd, the Kangal. What's the Kangal's proper name? The Anatolian Shepherd. And then you have other livestock guiders, Saplanak. That's the one I'm thinking of, Saplanak. That's what they're related to. They're not actually true Mastiffs. They're mountain dogs. They're different. Yeah, weird.
yeah. I always kind of wondered about that because I don't get I don't think I've ever met a Tibetan Mastiff in person. You know, we have some Great Pyrenees, and occasionally you'll meet an Anatolian, but that's
Yep.
over here. You know, they're not that common at all.
Yeah, they're not
Uh,
here either. They've only been in this country for about 50 years in Australia. Um, they were a very, very protected breed for a long time in Tibet and China because they were so valuable. They didn't start exporting them into the West. I think Queen Victoria was the first person to ever get an exported Tibetan Mastiff. They had a pair that was never bred from, so the line died out. Then one of your presidents, I forget which one of your presidents in the 1930s, I think, got gifted two or four Tibetan Mastiffs as well. I think
oh,
they bred from those. Um, yeah, there's some stuff in the annals of time there, but again, they're not common. But if you've met Great Pyrenees, very similar dogs, similar in size, similar in temperament, just a different color. They have some differences. Pyrenees are well more known for chasing down the predators they guard from and tending to kill them. Tibetan Mastiffs don't tend to do that. They tend to just make a threat and move on rather than trying to go down, hunt it, and kill it. There's just a little bit of difference.
right, because if they have a pack of something coming after them, they don't necessarily want to fight. They just want
Yeah,
to scare it
yeah,
off.
yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it's the predominant predators where they come from are packs of wolves, but they also have solo predators. They do have bears in the Himalayas. They're not that common above 10,000 feet, which is where these guys spend most of their time. The other big predator is the snow leopard. So there's quite a few clips on YouTube of Tibetan Mastiffs trying to scare off snow leopards. I'll tell you what, snow leopards are gnarly animals, man. It takes five of these guys just to make a snow leopard think twice about something. That's a serious animal. Like you realize just how incredible the snow leopards are when you see five of these guys trying to shepherd one away, and the snow leopard's holding its ground for the most part and tending to slink off. But yeah, it's not a one-sided fight. I mean, these are not small dogs. Yeah, snow leopard, crazy, man. They are crazy animals.
Yeah,
But
big cats or something else, man. we have some people
Mm,
that run them with hounds over here, and they'll
yeah,
mess a dog up in a heartbeat.
yeah, yeah. Bobcats, or what do you call them? Mountain lions? Is that right?
Yeah, cougars, mountain lions. We don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
very
Okay.
many anymore though. Only in
Okay.
certain places.
Yeah. Okay. Is that human habitat destruction that's caused that?
Yeah. People just kind of killed them off.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Everybody's afraid of them.
Yeah.
Bobcats are, hit or miss. Depends on where you live. Around here, we have a lot of them, but they're only about the size of a pit bull, and they're not gonna.
Okay. Okay. I thought they were bigger than that. Okay. Fair enough. Still,
I
I'm
mean,
sure they're.
maybe in some places they might get bigger, but if you see a bobcat that's 50, 60 pounds, that's a huge bobcat.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So is a mountain lion a different cat then? Is that right?
Yeah, mountain lion is
Oh. Okay.
that's more like a panther.
Oh. Okay. Right. I didn't realize that. I thought they were just different terms for the same cat. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Main
okay.
difference is bobcat doesn't have a tail. Mountain lion does.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Right. Fair enough. No, I genuinely didn't know that. Interesting. So you said you have Patterdale Terriers. What are they? Ratting dogs, presumably.
Um, they are the pit bull of the terrier world.
Okay.
Um, they're they're really small, but they're bred for like badgers and
Okay.
uh, groundhogs, raccoons.
Yeah.
They'll
Okay.
kill stuff 2, 3 times their size.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Okay.
honestly, the only difference between the Patterdales and the game bred pit bulls is the Patterdales are generally not as dog aggressive. You could
Okay.
generally have them around each other, but otherwise,
Yeah.
they are suicidal kamikaze dogs.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. um, I don't. I don't recall ever meeting a Patterdale. They're not common here at all. I know one person who had one. Someone at my work. But I never met them or the dog, or never met them with their dog. Yeah,
They
I don't think I've
originate
ever
from
met.
like Britain and England. England, Britain's got a lot of them
Okay.
over there. Scotland.
Well, that surprises me because being British, I used to live there, but I can't recall ever seeing one.
I believe the proper term is fell terrier.
Oh, I've not heard that term. Patterdale's what a term I've heard a lot. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I have to look out. I have to look out for 'em, see if I can find someone with one.
yeah,
Um,
definitely go
yeah,
look
okay.
those up.
So how big are they? Are they dash hound sort of size? Are they?
About the size of a Jack Russell.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
What you want is around the 13-pound range. Like my male is about 15 pounds, but something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And they hunt other nuisance animals, if that's a fair thing to call them.
Yeah, and their specific purpose is to go underground. And if you
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
send them underground, the other Patterdale guys will give you hell about it. I personally don't enjoy digging 10-foot holes to go dig my dog out, so I don't do it that
Yeah.
often.
Okay.
I'd rather them hunt above ground. But
Yeah. Okay.
they're very good at what they do. We brought
Yep.
Cowboy in one night because he's getting old. He's 11, 12 years old now, and it was gonna be cold. So I brought him in
Yep.
to sleep in the house with us. And I woke up the next morning and while we were asleep, he had chewed through our bedroom door, went down the hallway, chewed through the other bedroom door, killed all the ducklings in there, and stacked them in a little
Ah.
tower in a tote, and was sitting there wagging his tail when my wife got woke up the next morning and found him. Then it was not too long after that, he had an equipment malfunction where he got loose one morning, and I was just in the bathroom. So you're
Mm,
talking about 45 seconds, a minute and a half it took me to get out my back door and call him. I
mhm.
walked outside. I had 17 dead ducks and 13 dead rabbits. It was just mass carnage across my backyard, and he was just as proud as he could be.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah. He's doing what he was bred to do. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those type dogs. But
Mm,
if you're with him now, I can call him off at anything, and I hunt him totally naked. There's no e-collars, no nothing.
yeah. Okay.
That
Okay.
is that's one important thing that I don't get to stress enough because I use tools. People think that I rely on them forever, and I really don't. I don't start with tools, and I don't end with tools. I use them for a certain specific reason, and then we wean off of those just like we wean off of rewards or whatever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's another thing I don't use. I don't use or anything like that, and I don't tend to use toys. Though tend is the word I have with a couple of dogs. GSDs usually um, tend to find just they re- they do respond to play quite well, more so than other
Yeah.
dogs. Um, so yeah, getting them involved with flirt poles on walks. One GSD I had a real toy addiction. Its owners had used the toy to distract it from things it was reactive to for years, and so it couldn't cope with walking past pretty much anything. People were about the only thing it could cope walking past calmly, but any other animal, it just loses its mind, including dogs, because it always had a toy shoved in its face. It formed an addiction to the toy. It needed the toy to cope with life. Um, so I used the toy in that regard to start playing with the dog, and then I actually did a little bit of obedience training, showing it getting it do some impulse controls. Like the game stops until you can stop being a clown and sit down and be calm for a sec. Then we'll start again. Yada yada yada. But generally speaking, I don't use toys. But I'm not trying to add excitement to a situation. Most of the dogs I work with are already hyper because they're way under exercised. I don't need to make them any worse. I'm trying to do the opposite and get them calm. So there's a time and a place to get their energy out. But yeah, I don't use food either. I really have a ideological as well as a functional opposition to that. And the food just complicates things way too much. We just don't understand the impact it has on what a dog is trying to do, what a dog is trying to see in the world around it, and we're trying to involve food. It just annoys the hell out of me that people think that that could even work. Like, okay, um, let's humanize that for a sec to make it a little bit clearer for people. What are you going to do if your neighbor comes over to you and offers you crate of beer to come around his house and just help him, I don't know, lift something up it's too heavy for him to move on its own? You know, okay, cool. Now what you're going to do if your neighbor comes over to you with a crate of beer to do the same thing, but there's a guy with a gun pointing it at you just over there saying you're going to do something else. What are you going to take? You're going to listen to the guy with the gun, or you're going to take the bribe of the beer? Like, come on. It's not difficult. You're going to deal with the threat first. If you find something a threat, somebody putting food in front of your face is just going to piss you off. You're just messing with the survival instincts and the relationship stuff you're trying to build in a very strange and bizarre manner that does not help you get to where you want to go with having a calm dog that can cope with the world around it. Sounds a little bit of a rant I've gone on there, but that's my stance on using treats and stuff. It really winds me up. I want a dog that can go out in the world and just be. I don't want that dog relying on me to be its confidence. I don't want that dog relying on me to throw it a toy so it can cope, and I don't want a dog relying on me to throw it a bit of food so it can cope. No, just no. I want the dog to cope. Full stop. Dog needs to cope in the environment. Full stop. See the environment, sniff it, smell it, pee on it, whatever you got to do in the environment to get used to it. I'm not going to distract your attention from it because that does not help you learn at all. So yeah. I
So
probably give
let me
people.
try to explain it this way. And like I said, this would only apply to a certain percentage of dogs. For most things, what you're talking about is going to work. But
Hmm,
there's shit. I'm so sorry, dude. I lost my train of thought.
yeah,
I was
take
gonna
time.
say you can add some layers to it. It'll come back in a minute. Sorry.
That's all right.
Oh yeah, with the treats and with treats and toys. So the way I see people using that stuff, you're right. It makes no sense. They're using it as a distraction, and that's why it
Hmm,
doesn't work.
hmm,
But if, for example, you use the treats to teach a dog a couple of positions, right? You lure him into your sits, your downs, whatever.
hmm,
Now,
hmm,
people will try to use that, like you said, when there's a threat present, and the dog's like, "Screw you! I'm worried about the guy with the gun." So the part they're missing there is that you have to work the dog up to it. And instead of using your obedience or your toy or your treat as a distraction, you have to find a way to make it make sense to the dog, right? Like it has to make sense what he's doing.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
if you start these little games before you introduce the dog to the triggers, and then you play these little games at a distance at which the dog can tolerate it, right? Just as an introduction. It gets the dog used to thinking while they're in a state of adrenaline. So think like
Okay.
boxers, bouncers, security guards, military. They can keep their cool under a high
Extreme
state of
stress. Yeah.
adrenaline because they've been conditioned to it, right? So it's kind of the same thing. So in most cases, you do want the dog to calm down, but in order to work on the dog being able to soothe his own adrenaline rush, you kind of got to hype him up a little bit in the moment. It teaches them to think, and then it teaches them to process that adrenaline and tone it down without
Yeah. It
offering a
depends what
bad
you're doing with the
behavior, I
dog.
guess
Yeah.
you'd say.
Yeah, it depends what you're doing with the dog. You're correct. If I'm trying to use my dogs to hunt something, I don't want to calm them down. That's counterproductive. If I'm using my
Right.
dogs, for example, and I don't teach this, if you're using a dog in a military setting or a police dog setting, you don't want to calm the dog down. That's the last thing on earth you want to do. You want to do the opposite. You want to rev them up so they go do their job. Like you said, you need them to be able to think under high stress, high adrenaline. The particular niche I sit in, that's not my thing. That's not the kind of dogs I'm dealing with. I'm not taking clients' dogs and teaching them to go hunt. I'm not teaching them to do anything like that that requires them to get revved up. I'm always doing the opposite. But that's just the niche
Right.
I'm in. That's not to say that that's what
Well,
everyone
hold
needs to
on.
do. I understand.
Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying
Yeah.
for dogs like that. I'm saying
Uh,
that the dog's going to run it if the dog is reactive to things. It's having that adrenaline, that fight or flight response. So the only
Yep.
way you can, or I'm not going to say, I shouldn't say the only way, the quickest way you could teach them to think in that mindset is to create that mindset a little farther away from those triggers. Create the mindset with the toys or whatever it takes to get the dog aroused, and then you show them some structure. And then later, when you take them around their triggers, you're not going to use that obedience to try to suppress them, but their brain will automatically, they understand that somehow their behavior can relieve stress. So you're still going to give them the space to make their own decisions, but they're going to get there faster because you've conditioned them to think under that stress. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
have to
Okay.
wait for all that cortisol to be metabolized and then they can start thinking again. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Like a
Just
preconditioning thing, not something you do in the moment when the dog's going bad shit.
yeah. Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. It's just not an approach I use. So, okay. So um, I like to. I like to go through the whole process with the dog. So I like to go from them being in a nothing state to, oh yeah, look, there's a crazy trigger. Oh, you're going to have the whole cortisol, adrenaline. You're going to start jumping and lunging. You're going to start barking. You're going to start turning around trying to chew the leash. Get on with
Mm.
it. Do what you got to do. That's okay. That's all part of the emotional load of seeing something you don't like, seeing something you don't understand, not knowing how to navigate this environment without losing your mind. That's fine. Get on with whatever it is you need to do, dog. I don't care. I'm not bothered. I'm not interested. You're safe with me. You're attached to me with a leash. I'm going to use my calmness to try and influence you. Um, that is that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to influence the dog by just being in a state of calm, using that to attract them to me. Does tend to work reasonably quickly, but it takes a lot of repetition. But that's what I'm trying to do because I see the way that works with the dog as them building a bond with me for who I am. They can see and feel, and they see, they're not usually looking at me. They can feel that level of not caring. They feel that level of calm coming from me. There's no vibrations coming down the leash from me. There's no, oh shit, and holding
Right.
on for dear life. I'm not worried about that. And obviously, there are dogs I would be worried about. There are dogs big enough that I could barely hold on. Of course, I haven't worked one of those yet, and would have to think seriously about how I go about stuff. If someone hands me a 200-pound Kangol, this isn't a 60-pound dog. I can hold with two fingers on the end of the leash and just be like, yeah, when you finished reacting, whatever, not a problem. A 200-pound dog that's going nuts, I can be like, yeah, this is a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? Okay, we're going to have to think carefully about how we go into this scenario, how we manage this. So yeah, size and strength matters, but predominantly, I want to be there for the whole reaction. I don't want the dog to have a pre-game, as you called it, and I see the utility of that. I see the utility of teaching a dog to be able to think when it's wound up, stressed, and all of that, and practicing that kind of scenario away from a trigger. I can see some utility there. But when I'm trying to build a relationship, I want to be right next to the dog so it can feel my calmness when it's going through all of that different emotional process of potential deadly threat. Maybe it's not a deadly threat. Potentially, it's just not very friendly. Maybe it's a potential friend, and then see the calm. Oh, actually, we just don't even have to interact with it. I want to be there for all of that emotional processing right next to the dog and be part of that influence. And then we can start thinking about moving on. So that's how I approach it. And it's not to say there's anything wrong with what you said, but again, I don't want to interfere with food. I just don't like that. Just yeah. Like I said, I'll be honest, I'm ideologically opposed to it. That's the first way of saying it. I'm sure there's utility to the way some people can do it. Fine. It's just I don't like it. If that makes sense.
How long have you been working with dogs?
So I had my first client somewhere around end of March, beginning of April 2023, but that wasn't a behavioural case. I didn't start with any behavioural cases for nigh on a year after that. I had a couple of minor reactivity cases in there, which they weren't really why I got contacted. So when I started this, I was just walking dogs. That's all I was doing was walking people's dogs who had either like new jobs that they didn't have the time to do it, or that one client broken their ankle. They just needed someone to walk their dog for a few weeks while they had their plaster cast on, and then they recovered and go do that. So that's how I started. I hosted dogs at my house, so I looked after dogs here when people wanted to go out for an evening or go away. I had a couple of dogs come over here. So it was kind of a weird mishmash of doing odd things, odd jobs, as you call it, like hosting dogs, just walking dogs, going around to someone's house and feeding the dog if they've gone away for a couple of days and that kind of stuff. Maybe take it for a walk if they asked me to. That's how I started. Yeah, it was just over 3 years, or just under over. What are we in now? August? Yeah, it was three and a half years just coming up to. So it was March, April 2023 I started.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you just started.
Yeah,
Like I
I'm
said,
part time. I've never done
I
it full
don't
time.
really disagree with anything. Most especially your ideology. I think you have the perfect mindset. Um, like the only thing that I would really even argue with is I guess maybe adding more layers. You know, because like 80% of your average dogs, what you're talking about is going to work just fine. It's gonna be just
Mm,
fine. But when
mm,
you run into a dog like Yogi, and I had known this dog his whole entire life. Like I met him at 10 weeks
mm,
old, and he's
yeah.
6 years old, right? And he starts growling at the kids at my brother's house. I don't know all this. So I
Mm,
take in this dog, and he comes in my house. He hears another dog outside and goes right through the window after him. We go outside, we get him back in the
yeah,
house. Somebody pulls up in the driveway, he's right through another window, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
this is getting really dangerous because when I tell him no,
yeah,
he backs me up against the wall.
yeah.
And I really thought that dog was going to kill me, man. But I really had a relationship with him. But in just
Mm,
certain environments, my pressure on him was just not going to be accepted. And
yeah.
I get it from his point of view because I'm only alive because he let me live. Right? The same way with your
Mm,
dogs. They just don't know it
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Or maybe they
They
do.
come with
Maybe
the
they're just
warning.
that confident. But when you
Yeah,
got a dog that's willing to try you and willing to tell you to fuck off,
yeah,
they'll really push you to try things that are out of your ideology. I had never used
yeah.
an e-collar before, never even thought about using an e-collar. And
Mm,
then when I decided to use the e-collar, I did a lot of research on how to use it because I wanted to make sure. Because with this dog, I mean, the harder you hit him, the madder he would get. Like
yeah,
hitting the
yeah,
dog or punishing him harshly, a pop on the,
yeah,
yank on
yeah,
the leash, that's not gonna work. He would have killed me.
yeah.
But I used low level e-collar stem, man, and like I did some corny shit with that dog that I would laugh at me for now, but it worked. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
and
okay.
that's what got me to think outside of the box. And then over the years, man, I've just had so many of those rare occasions just because I'm the only one dumb enough to take them, to be honest with you. I took a dog all the way from Minnesota. All I knew is that she had a bite history. She had hurt 5 people and she had beat
Hmm.
up a couple of dogs real bad.
Hmm.
And At that time, I was kind of doing a lot of what you're talking about. Just stand there and wait. Dude, I stood out in this yard for like 5 days straight, all day long, and this dog did backflips on the end of the leash.
Yeah.
And I was conditioning her to the e-collar, but I wasn't using it yet because she had been abused on it. And one day, she was going after the chickens, and I just said, "Lay down," and she said, "Poop," laid right down. After that, the ball started rolling, and I was like, all right, so I can't not use because I was using the e-collars as more like a negative reinforcer, motivation, that type shit. I was really trying to get away from punishment and corrections and all that stuff, but it just there's some dogs that benefit from it, and then there's some dogs that really don't, like what you were talking about with your dog, that extra pressure. And it makes
Mm,
sense with a livestock guardian is a whole different animal than your average dog, so I can see that extra pressure causing
mm,
a negative effect that you don't want to
mm,
see. Pit bulls can be the same way. Like I said, the harder you hit them, the madder it makes them. So you're not going to punish a bad behavior out of a dog like that. It's
yep.
got to be a
Yep.
relationship communication type thing.
Mhm.
And like I said, I think you got a great mindset towards it. I just think that as you go, when you meet some of these special cases like I'm talking about,
Mm.
maybe you'll just think back to our conversation, and you'll be willing to add a layer here or there. You know what I mean? Just go out on a limb and try it. The worst thing that can happen is it don't work. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I've not come across dogs like that yet, and you're right. I am someone who will have to think very carefully about what he thinks, what he said to people, and how he goes about his business when I come across a dog that it's just not happening for. But you are right. These guys, it's, they come with warnings. If you want to get hard with these guys, they'll get hard back. The harder you get with them, the harder they'll get back with you. And yes, I know people who have had these guys fly out of windows to go and deal with the threat. Um, they're not messing around. You try and step in front of one of these guys when it's trying to do its job, they'll just bowl you over, and that's them being nice.
yeah.
They'll just run through you like you're not even there. That's them being nice. If they decide that, that you need a little bit of your own medicine, you don't want to be on the end of that. I very much remember multiple breeders before we got our dogs when I was chatting to a couple in the States, a couple over here. They all said universally the same thing: do not get heavy-handed with these dogs,
Yep.
because one day they have a long memory and they will go for you. They are not stupid dogs. They know what they're about. And if you want to cause that kind of aggro in your house, you're on your own. Don't come looking for me for help. And just as
You
an
can't create
example,
conflict with a dog that big.
yeah, exactly. Just as an example of how devious they are, there was a story a few years ago, and I've not corroborated it. I don't know. I've never been able to prove it was true, but I was told this by a breeder. They tried to do some ITP training with Tibetan Mastiff. So they had the guy in the, what do you call it, the decoy suit with the pretend stick. Instead of running up to the guy to bite the arm and then do the stick thing, the Tibetan Mastiff ran round the back of the guy, grabbed him by the back of the neck, pulled him down, and nearly killed him. Like,
Oh my god.
yeah, I've never been able to corroborate it. I don't know if that's a true story, but that's what I was told by a breeder. So I've not got reason to disbelieve them, but I've never found trace of that story on the internet or anything, and I have looked. But I'm told that's what they're like. So they will bear a grudge, and if they determine there's a threat, they're not going to do a conventional maneuver as you might expect them to do. They will think the situation through to deal with the threat as they see fit. And so if you're causing a level of conflict with them, they'll just beat you. There's nothing you can do about it. They will just beat you. So yeah, I understand. There's some serious dogs out there. No, I've not come across anything like the situation you've described yet, where you've spent that time just standing there trying to get the trust of the dog. I've had dogs that have been real difficult to gain trust. Rhodey the Amstaff was the longest. So Dexter, another Amstaff, he was a serious case. He trusted me within like 10 minutes. That was weird. No, I was not expecting that. This is a dog who'd been in a serious fight, got beat up by some strange strangers who had misinterpreted his situation. So he had got attacked by another dog. It was witnessed by members of the public. Members of the public, two men, came in, didn't know which dog had started the fight. It was two Amstaffs going at it. So of course it was ugly. They beat up my client's dog, The owner of the other dog lost a finger in, or half of a finger in the squabble. Police and council got involved, yada, yada, yada. Their dog had then subsequently bitten a guest that had come into the house, so they realized they needed to do something. They needed to get a trainer involved, or someone to help out. So I met the dog, told him to go away, as I always do. Meet the dog one on one in the home. It was having a meltdown in the back garden for a few minutes. So just lay down in the house by the glass doors at the back till the dog calmed down. Open the doors, let it come sniff me. Went sat outside, all perfectly fine, all great. It's on video. Some of the texters in there with the dog. Then I went and got his leash. He just walked up to me and sat down and was like, "Yes, let's go. I want to go for a walk with you." I was like, "What? Oh, okay, cool. I really did not think this is easy." And then on the far end of the scale with Rhodey, the Amstaff, when I met him and I started trying to work with him one because I tried starting with him on balance stuff. I tried to put him in a slip leash. Didn't work for him. He's one of the dogs that doesn't respond to that at all. But then when I went into the house with the owner not present and tried to gain his attention, he just went and hid in the far corner of the garden. Like he just ran away from me as far as he could be. And it took months. Go there. This was free of charge. Every Friday after work, I'd just go sit in his garden. And it was about 2-3 months for an hour a day before he would even come up to me and sniff me. So before, when I was working with him, the owner would just hand him to me in a leash all ready to go, and that was fine. It wasn't too much of an issue. He occasionally got snappy and tried to bite me because he's protective of his owner, but it wasn't too big of an issue. But when I got the owner out of the picture and tried to work with this dog, he was just so distrustful of me and everything. It's not unique to me. Everything and everyone took months and months to gain his trust. I thought, am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? I've never had a dog ignore me like this ever. Like usually they're up and sniffing me within minutes, if not, maybe it's an hour. This guy was truly months. Every week for 2 to 3 months, somewhere between 8 and 12, maybe 14 hours of just sat in this guy's garden, and then he sniffed me. And it took not quite as long. It accelerated from there, but it took another few weeks. Then he let me come and put his leash on, and then we were away. And then we were walking. But I've never ever met a dog with so little trust in a human being. And in a breed that's usually pretty good as well for trusting people. But it's just crazy to see how distrustful of things he was. But then he'd never seen the world. I found out from the owner. Like, he walked in the park opposite their house. They live somewhere similar to me. They got like hectares of land outside their house. He just walked around the same park all his life. He'd never even been in a car. The first time I tried to get him in a car, he just nope. Like, I don't even know what that thing is. I'm not getting in that. Nothing you do
Right.
to me is going to get me in that car. And it just is another indication of how scared of things he was. One of his little outbursts he had when he was near me with the owner, and I had to grab him because he bit me. He actually defecated on the spot when I made contact with him. I grabbed him by the back of the neck on the collar, just to shove him away from me. And he actually pooped. He literally defecated on the spot. I'm like, you are genuinely terrified. Right, okay, you're a weird dog. You're an odd guy. And I've had my dogs around him now. He's friends with my two. He's friends with another Great Dane, and he's not friends with it's a pit bull cross with something, bull Arab maybe. But he's a weird dog. So Rollo doesn't like Rhodey. I don't mean animosity. There's none of that. He just ignores, completely blanks him. And Rollo never completely blanks a dog ever.
That's the blue dog you're showing videos of,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
Okay,
Rhodey,
yeah,
the
I
blue dog.
watched some of
Yeah,
those.
yeah. Yeah, he's a weird dog, man. He is so weird. So Rollo doesn't pay him any attention at all, ever. And that's just not normal. Tora, she'll play with him because Rhodey tries to play with her, but she doesn't like him. She always tries to end the play and just get him to go away. They don't do that with other dogs. They go dog parks all the time, these two. They love interacting with other dogs. They have a run around, they have a play, they sniff butts, all the usual stuff. Rhodey, just cold shoulder, complete cold shoulder all the time. Had the Great Dane, a friend of mine, around. He had a play with the Great Dane. Then their bull Arab cross. She just avoided him like he was a disease. Wouldn't go near him at all. Oh, there's definitely
How does
something
he
very
act towards other
strange going on.
dogs?
Oh, he wants to do bad stuff when he's out. And I have seen him get towards other dogs. He's met one snuck up on us when he was on a long line somewhere, and he just pinned it. He didn't break the skin. He didn't do it any serious harm. He just pinned it by the side of the neck. Um, Saw it up and running a few minutes later, so it wasn't hurt. I was like, that was totally unnecessary, Rhodey. And you've never tried to do that to my two. You've never tried to do it to the other dogs that have been around your house. So here's the oddity with that guy. When I walk into his house with a new dog, perfectly calm. He is not perfectly calm. He's a little bit happy to see the dog, and he'll interact with it like a normal dog. Get him off his property. He just wants to go. You can just see the body language, like the laser focus on the other dog. It's just like, okay, you're not calm about this in any way, shape, or form. We're getting there slowly. Last one I had with him, um, where did I take him? Down the back of the swimming pool near where I live. We had a couple of dogs walk past us within 6 feet of us, and he's just stayed next to me loose leash. He's not done anything stupid. We're finally getting there. Finally. So he had a leg operation earlier this year. He had a thank you, Rollo. He had a cruciate ligament tear, so he had to have the leg operation, which is vicious. But they don't actually fix the ligament, and the vet was explaining this to me because I had taken him to the vet. His owner can't do that; he'll try and kill people. So I took him to the vet. They explained what they're going to do the surgery. They chop the bone in the leg, and they file down the bone to change the angle in the joint, and then they reattach the bone with a bolt. So the bolt through the leg. So effectively, you're disabling the dog for life, but it's better than having a torn cruciate ligament. It allows the ligament to actually heal. 4 months isolation in 2 months in a crate, isolation to heal, then slowly couple minute walks a day, 5 minute walk a day, 10 minute walk a day, build up from there. Everything I'd done from before that operation was a complete waste of time. Just that 4 months of isolation of doing nothing, no exercise, no interaction with any other dog or person, just ruined him, completely ruined him. He was like not blank slate, but opposite of a blank slate. Just nothing in the world made any sense to him again. He'd lost all progress I'd made with him. So I started again. I figured out I've got to take you to new places. I've got to socialize you effectively. That's really what I'm doing, Rody. I'm not doing anything else other than trying to socialize him to the world because he didn't know how it worked. And now I've got him, taking him to lots of different places, taking him busy central Melbourne, going down other places where we'll see dogs. And he met chickens on my last walk with him. We went down somewhere, we met some chickens behind the fence, and I let him look at the chickens. That was a good one. He was hyper focused on the chickens. Of course he was. He's never seen live chickens before in his life. He was just staring at these chickens from a couple of feet away behind the fence. I let him do that for a minute, and I was like, well, we're bored of this. I'm going to face the other direction, and I'm going to wait for you to chill out. And it took him about a minute, and then he's like, okay, I'll come with you. And we just started walking. It was great. But that's where I'm at with this guy. Dogs is the next thing. We've now been successfully walked past many dogs without any silliness on the leash. So I've said to the owner, like, give us another couple of weeks. I'm going to do some more of that to make sure the pattern is truly repeatable. We're going to do some more busy environments and some more slightly less busy environments because I want to see how the hyperfocus is or is not. And then we're going to bring you back in, and we're going to see if we can transfer that to you. And I'm going to start coaching you. I would like to get ready to meet other dogs, but that's not really the brief from the owner. The owner just wants to be able to go out with the dog, walk, and not have to worry about it. I would like to get him to meet other dogs, but it's like I'm going to be charging this client a lot of money to do that. It's going to take time because he still views other dogs as a threat outside the home. Whereas if I can just get her happy walking past other dogs and she doesn't have to worry and he's not trying to pull her, I think that's probably a fair compromise. Because at the end of the day, it's not my call. It's up to the owner what they want, and it's their dog. They've got to tell me what they're happy with. And if she wants to keep employing me to have dog friends, and he can come bring mine around, or other dogs bring them around to the house when she's not there, and he can get exercise that way from that. And he goes on a treadmill once a week as well. Gets a run. That's the thing. The vet has said no twisty turnies, so he can't use flirt pole. He's herding ball kind of all right for him, but I've got to be a bit careful. There's a 90% chance his other cruciate ligament goes in the other leg within a year of the surgery. So we're now 6 months past that. Nearly 4.5 months past that. So he's a dog that is 5.5 years old. He's not allowed to do crazy exercise because he's got a leg that's going to give way on him, or we're going to ruin the other leg. And so that's a real challenge for a dog that lost all of his socialization and social skills a few months ago.
And what is that from? Is that just bad breeding?
Yeah, it's bad breeding.
Gotcha.
His sister is owned by the vet. Both cruciate ligaments in the rear legs went by the age of 3. I presume, but don't know, other litter mates are in a similar situation. Yes, bad breeding. It is bad breeding. This is known in the blue staffy lines. Certainly over here in Australia, that they do have a lot of joint problems, and people keep breeding from them. It's not good. It's not good. Sucks, but it is what it is. So yeah, he's a difficult one. Rody will never ever be a happy dog because his health. He has other health issues too. He's got bad allergies, really bad allergies. He's got a lot of fur loss on the back of his legs, and he's got a lot of fur loss around the base of his tail. his allergies, potentially because he was neutered very young, probably too young. Uh, Although that said, some of the annual injections vets give dogs for some of the diseases around here are known to cause allergy issues too. So he's just not a healthy dog. He's just not. He's had some gut issues of late too. He had diarrhea for a couple of weeks about a month ago. Um, he wasn't a happy dog there. He's lost a lot of weight, man. He's lost a lot of weight. He's underweight now too. He's struggling to put that weight back on. So it's sad. He's not a healthy dog. I can't do the things I want to do, and I know I need to do to really get him to be a good dog. So it's hard. It's really hard. His life is going to be exercise will be on a treadmill, maybe a little bit, and I do some a little bit of herding ball chasing on football field with him. I've got to be careful that it's not too twisty and turny. No chasing RC cars, no flirt pole or anything like that. And interacting with dogs, the vet has said he's not really allowed to go hard and play. But it's like I've got to give him something. Like he plays with Tora and he enjoys it. Got to give him something, otherwise he's going to just lose his mind and go nuts. That's just not fair. So yeah, he's a
Yeah,
challenge. He's a
right.
challenging case. It's a challenging case. It's just his own physicality has hamstrung him, and it's not his fault. It's just not his fault. It's sad.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. That is tough.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. So just muddling through the best we can and keep doing what we can. See where we go. Yeah, it's sad to see. It's sad to see. Like his ribs, his owner's like, I'm offering as much food as he'll eat, and he's just yeah. Anyway, poor guy. I feel sorry for him, but yeah, he's been my longest customer. He's the most difficult, and he's another one where the owner is really the problem. She's 65 years old. She's a grandmother, and she's got a 5.5-year-old hamster in the prime of his life, right? And she's one of the ones I've been watching and coaching her, and he's just gone bang, and she's gone like across the grass, like wherever he wants to go. She's just hanging on with both hands, like ah. And I run over
Oh
and taking him off
no.
her. I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. If you ever told me who sold you this dog, I'm going to go give him a slap. Because they should not have sold you this dog. You is way outside of your skill set, way outside of your comfort zone. You just cannot cope. And another thing I really detest and I'm ideologically opposed to is muzzles. But this lady, I have told her like, you can't take this guy out in public without one on because you can't control him. He's just
Yeah.
incapable. As soon as he does anything, he's off. For the most part, he's not doing that anymore. We have got a long way with him. He is calmer because he's now seen some of the world. He understands it. And she has said he's just easier for her to handle. I was like, great, that's good. Anything which helps you be calm is going to help him calm down. But I'm well aware that this is a dog that can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and the owner cannot stop him. She just cannot. She's too small. I mean, she only weighs like 110 pounds herself. She's got a 70-pound damn staff, for goodness sake. Like, it's not even a close contest. The dog
It
is
doesn't
far, far
even make
stronger than her.
sense.
It does not make sense. It absolutely does not make sense. And she lives on her own too. So she's divorced from her husband, and I think that I don't know because I don't want to pry. I don't know if that occurred around the time they got the dog or if she got the dog after. It's not really my place to be prying into that kind of business. But yeah, it's sad. It's everything's kind of screaming at me. Yeah, this dog needs someone who can actually handle it. But it's her dog. Oh, we're doing our best. We're doing our best. Yeah, he's a challenge, but he's the one that's most commonly on my channel because I spend most time with him, and he's the most interesting because he's not seen the world. Zara is my other long-term client, but I just walk her. There's nothing wrong with her. Zara is one I picked up when the owner broke her ankle. She broke her ankle those years ago now, like 3 years ago. No, not three. Sorry, two. It would be 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. The owner broke her ankle. So I need someone to walk my dog. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I do it 3 times a week. I walk Zara. And then the owner took on a new job after that. And she's like, I'm going to be gone into the city for 12 hours for 4 days a week. And do you want to carry on? Yeah. Yeah. The dog's the easiest dog in the world. She just walks for 20 minutes and poodles around outside home, which is why I don't often film Zara or put much of it off my channel. There's one the other day from her. That's Zara. And that was a super long walk from Zara. It was 28 minutes. Like that never happens. So easy to do, Zara. She's a lovely dog, 10-year-old Great Dane, very, very social. She likes to meet other dogs. So she's partially blind. She's got arthritis in both shoulders. Um, so yeah, she just bimbles around, doesn't do a lot. She's dead easy. She's so freakishly strong, man. Even when I started walking her a couple of years ago, if I wasn't paying attention and she turned round, like whoop, it was like a Scooby Doo skit. I'm just going off on like I just get dragged. There's nothing I can do. She is truly a dog that I now understand what some owners go through. When the dog is stronger than me, she's probably not
Yeah.
anymore. She has degraded quite a lot in that couple of years. But when she would have been 5 or 6, I don't know if I could have held on. That's a lot of dogs. She's what? She's 80 kilos or 7 pounds. So she's somewhere around 180 pounds, something like that, maybe a bit more than that. So when she was in her prime, she would have probably been nudging 190-pound dog. But she's just so chilled.
Dude,
She
I couldn't even hold a dog like that. I don't know how anybody can.
Yeah, it's not easy. I tell you, it's not easy. Even now, when I have to tell her we're not doing something, which is super rare, as it almost never happens, but she does occasionally because she doesn't see too well. She tries to walk into like we have a storm water drain, but they don't do it like they used to in the 90s. Storm water drains are not just concrete here; they like dig out the earth and they make it all natural waterways, and it's populated with native plants. It gets a bit marshy and boggy, and then you kind of go off the edge of a cliff into the drain, but you can't see that because it's all natural and green. She likes to try and walk into that sometimes. Like, no, Zari, we're not going in there because you're just going to fall off the cliff into the water drain, and there's no way I can get you out. So I do occasionally have to put my feet down. And I tell you what, this the strength, even at a 10-year-old Great Dane, a female. Um, she probably isn't the full 80 anymore. She's probably more like 75 kilos now, but still 160 to 180 pounds, somewhere in that range. The strength in her is just phenomenal. But she's got no backbone anymore. She's quite happy if I say no, she'll just bimble along and follow me. But there's nothing wrong with her. We've never had any significant behaviours to work on. She didn't used to like getting barked at, which was weird. When I started walking her, the owner warned me that if she gets barked at from the dog behind a fence, she'll probably just start speeding up on the walk to get away. And that she did a little bit, but that kind of died off in a week or so. Three walks a week, and I, I think she's realised that. I have her on a long line too, so if she did that, it didn't really affect me. She wasn't pulling me. I just give her a bit of extra leash and off she goes. There's no biggie. But she's easy. Yeah, it's gonna be sad. She's very, very old for a Great Dane. They don't usually get past 8 or 9. So for a 10 or
Yeah.
10-year-old girl already, it's sad. It's not going to last forever. Um, yeah, what's even more sad is that her owner's away so much of the time. It's going to be me that finds her. I'm not looking forward to that. Yeah.
Do you work
Oh, but
mostly with bigger dogs?
I do market myself that way. So on my website and my profile on a couple of the independent contractor pages, like Mad Paws and whatever the other ones are, I do market myself for big dogs. Tend to find that's easier to get work because there's a lot less people who are willing to go handle the big dogs. So I had a couple of Rotties in my client list of people who have gone away on holiday and needed someone to walk their dog, and a couple of the larger German Shepherds. I had a King Shepherd as well. That was an interesting dog. King Shepherds are a weird shape, man. They're odd. They're like got a barrel chest on them. The rest of them
Hmm.
looks like a German Shepherd. So you're a really weird looking dog. They had a White Shepherd too, which I'm told is just a inbred version of the German Shepherd, where they got a white coat and just kept breeding from the white coated dogs. So now it's considered a separate breed called a White Shepherd. Interesting. So yeah, they had a King Shepherd and a White Shepherd. But yeah, and they found me just because I advertised for the bigger dogs.
Gotcha.
That's my preference. Just I like the bigger breeds. You might guess. So I got Tibetan Mastiffs.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah,
I don't get into anything much bigger than a German Shepherd. I've dealt with a few
yeah,
Rottweilers, but when it
yeah,
comes to the Mastiffs and stuff like that,
mhm,
I
yeah,
usually just refer those out.
yeah. Okay.
Unless
I've
it's
not
something
had
really simple.
Yeah, I've not had any serious behavioural dogs of that size. The biggest is the Tibetan Mastiff client I've got. But he's not a complex one. It's standard reactivity, standard lack of socialization. So the guy who owns the Tibetan client, he's a restaurant owner. He's a restaurant owner and chef by trade. Like, he's a really busy guy. He owns 4 restaurants. So it's people do it all the time. They get a dog, yada yada yada, and then they realize they haven't got the time for the dog. And then just chatting to him, I was like, he was explaining the reactivity, and I asked him, like, "Oh, what do you do with the dog? Where do you go? What exercise do you do?" He's like, "I just walk around this block." Got Tibetan Mastiff, man. You walk around the same block 100 times. It's now your dog's property. Anybody or anything
Right.
coming into that space is now going to get guarded against. That's not reactivity. That's your dog doing its job. your dog's not being an ass. You've literally created a territory for your dog by walking around the same area all the time. Like, yeah, I ain't got time to go and do other stuff and go elsewhere. What do you want me to do about that? Can't fix that for you. Like, I could have your dog and do X, Y, Z, and I'll give you back. You walk around the same area again, you're going to get the same behavior. It's not reactivity. Your dog has got a territory. You've created it by walking around the same area. Ah, okay. And so chat to him a couple of weeks later and say, yeah, I've been to some different places. Yeah, he's different. He's well different. Easy. And we have had
Right.
some sessions that explained it to him like that. It's the same as road design. You've got to get more confident that you can hold on to your dog. Everything else is easy. I've just watched you meet my dog Rollo. That went fine. I haven't got him in front of Tora yet. When we had our last session together, Tora was still in season, so she's attacked both my dog attacked, and so is this other guy. So I can't bring Tora. We're not doing that. We're not spending an hour trying to stop them mating. For goodness sake, we're not doing that. So when Tora's off season, we'll have another session. That was a couple of months ago now. My daughter did work experiences restaurant a couple of weeks ago. He's just too busy. He's just too busy. He's got 4 businesses, understaffed, and he's doing 65, 70 hours a week in his business. He ain't got time for a dog. Your dog's
Yeah.
going to be a mess when you finally get back in contact with me. Like, a mess. Because you're just not doing the things you need to do with a 2-year-old Tibetan Mastiff. Yeah, I can't
Dude,
help
I've seen it so many times. Either they don't have time for them, or the
that.
dog's acting exactly how it's bred to act, and that's why they dump them. That's literally the story behind 90% of the dogs that have been here.
Yep. The treadmill guy I use for roadie says the same thing. He literally said to me like the second week, like, I have a business because people get dogs they can't handle. That is literally my entire business
Where
model is I have this converted van with a dog treadmill in the back, and he just drives around Melbourne every day, $75 for a half-hour session to have the dog run on a treadmill, and he has got a viable money spinning business. And he's not short of work. And it's like, yeah, it's because people don't have the time for their dogs, and they've got dogs that they can't handle, and so this is the only way the dog can get some energy out, and that's great. Like, people are using that to have their dog get some energy out. It's really good. I'd rather they did that than nothing. But yeah, even he's cottoned on very quickly to the fact there's a lot of people out there that have got dogs they shouldn't have because they just don't have the time for them. That's a curious point. I'll go with this one. So one of the things I try and tell people, and I always get looked at like I'm a complete weirdo when I say this. So when I take my dog out for a walk, mostly at the weekends, but to some extent it applies in the week as well. But really, this is a weekend thing. I go out. I don't set a time limit on that. I go somewhere, maybe a dog park, maybe an open nature reserve place, maybe just a beach or a dog beach, or even the busy human beaches. I It's kind of up to my dog what we're up to here. Like, if he wants to walk in that direction for an hour, cool, then we'll turn around and go back the other way for an hour. He may then carry on come past the car. Last time I went to the beachfront, we went an hour one way, hour back, and then half hour the other way. All right, well, this isn't normal. You don't usually do this, but that's cool. Like, literally, I am with what I consider to be, a business name gives it away, Partners in Canine, a true partner. My Tibetan Mastiff, the Eastern philosophy from Tibet treats them that way. They are partners. There's no time limit. I have things to do. I have 2 children. I have a wife. I've got a job and other stuff going on in my life. But when I'm out with my dog, to build that real strong bond and relationship, I don't place time limits on that kind of thing. And if Rollo
Yeah.
often, he lies down, right? He will get near the car because he knows where I park. Dogs are kind of like that. He just lays down. He's like, I don't want to go home yet. Okay, I'll just sit down next to you and we'll just enjoy. Well, it's winter, it's not always that enjoyable at the moment, but the last few times I've done it, sun shining. Why on earth would I not want to hang around with my dog out somewhere where he's having fun, I'm having fun, the sun's out, and we can just relax in the world together? I don't see much in the world better than that. I know some dogs are not prone to just wanting to lie down and do nothing. The bigger breeds, once they've had a little bit of a trot about and a run about, said hello to a few things, they do tend to settle down and lie down. They're not hyperactive dogs by any means. Certainly not a Patterdale Terrier. And I love that. I genuinely like that, and I think I try to tell people that is where I see bonding occurring. My dog has had some fun.
Yeah.
I've had some fun, but now he's telling me something. He's saying, I don't want to go home yet. Now I can be the leader and say, yeah, fine, we got stuff to do. So on sling your hook and get in the car, don't care. But I prefer to try and have a more of a negotiation with, well, yeah, okay, cool. You can be in charge for a minute. That's a not careless word. That's how I see it. Like, yeah, you can lead for a minute. You can be in charge. I don't mind. Let's just sit here
Yeah,
for 10
yeah,
minutes and
I'm the
enjoy the
same way.
sunshine. Right?
Yep.
This is fun. But clients look at me like, what's wrong with you? What do you mean you just go out with your dog and you'll get back when you get back kind of thing? And if he wants to go off down the beach that way or whatever, if he wants to walk into town, like that's cool. Aren't you supposed to be in charge? Well, kinda. Yes, I'm the senior partner in the relationship. That's how I view it. But that doesn't mean I can't let the dog have a say, make decisions. I want my dog to make decisions
Right.
because that forms a true relationship. I treat my friends the same way. I ask, where do you want to go eat or where do you want to go get a drink? You don't order your friend around all the time. They'll
That's right.
very, very,
Exactly.
very quickly not be friends anymore. If you say, let's go to this pub,
That's
and they go,
right.
no, no, I'm going to this one. And then you just always end up going your separate ways. Like, we're not even friends, are we? Come on. And I view the same way with the dog. And I know some people were quite vociferous and like, no, you're in charge, you're leading, you're doing that. I was like, yeah, leadership's not a physical position per se, it's a relationship status. Yes, I'm the leader in my dog's life. Yes, I'm in charge of the relationship. That doesn't mean I don't give my dog decisions to make. And that's what I think a lot of people miss. I want a true partnership with your animal where you genuinely trust your dog. You're not worried about what your dog's going to do when you're not in charge. That's kind of the goal for me. If I want to give a little one-liner of how I view it, is I don't care. I'm not worried about what my dog might do when I'm not in charge because he's gone and sat 25 meters away from me, or we were sat together, but he's got up and said hello to the dog, and he's sat back down again. I don't care. I'm not worried about that. That's a real
Right.
partnership. And then if he looks at me and he gets up and he wants to go, cool, let's go. But yeah, but now he's leading you. Yes, yes, that's fine. But I don't understand. I thought you're the leader. Yes, but I think of it in a office scenario. Like, does your boss give you space to do your job to the best of your ability, or does your boss sit on your shoulder telling you exactly what to write on every sentence of the thing you're writing? You'd very quickly fall out with the boss that was sat on your shoulder telling you exactly what to do every moment of every day. In fact, you might even turn around and start resource guarding them because they're really getting on your nerves.
Right.
Tell them to go away. And so that's how I try and explain it to people. But yeah, I have a hard time with that sometimes. And a lot of people are just like, nah, I don't see it that way. I've got stuff to do. I'm busy. Where'd you get dog?
Yeah, well,
What are you
dude,
doing?
and
What are you
I
doing?
think that's the whole problem is the perspective. To them, walking the dog is something they have to do. For us,
Mhm.
it's something we get to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's what we
yeah,
enjoy doing. But to them, it's just a chore because they like the
yeah.
idea of having a dog more than they actually like having the dog.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. Yeah, definitely. I view walking my dog as a highlight of my day. It's not something I get home and go, ugh, I gotta go walk the dog, unless it's pissing down with rain. I don't
Right,
mind doing
right,
that.
yeah,
But to be fair, Rollo doesn't like the rain, so that's easy. Tora doesn't care; she'll go out and whatever. Rollo doesn't like the rain. Princess. No, when he was a puppy, he wouldn't even go out and pee or poo on the grass when it was raining. He'd hide under the little veranda cover area we've got and poo on the concrete. Like, come on, you're a dog. It's just a bit of water. But yeah, I do come across a few people who are like that. Walking the dog is a chore, so they want the dog to behave because they just got to get through the chore.
yeah,
Nah, walking my dog is one of the highlights of my day. I actually look forward to it. Like 3 o'clock at work, and there's not that much left to do for the day. I'm already thinking about what I'm going to go do with my dog. How I'm going to go and have fun. How am I going to fulfill his needs? How are we going to enjoy ourselves? And that's what I want other people to enjoy. That's what I want them to get to with their dog. And it's yeah, sometimes hard to persuade people of that. And maybe you're onto something. People see walking their dog as a chore because they have an ideal and the dog doesn't want that ideal. So they just they don't enjoy that, and it becomes the same vicious circle. It starts to become a problem they don't want to do. Mm, mm,
Yeah, man. It's all in how you're looking at it. And
mm.
not everybody really loves dogs as much as they think they do.
Yeah, yeah, I see that, and I suppose I have some sympathy with that. Like I said, we these are our first dogs. Man, the first couple of weeks these guys were in my house, I was so stressed. I didn't eat for about 4 days. I was like just walking around thinking, "What the hell have I done? What on earth have I let myself in for? Getting two of these massive dogs." And then when they arrived at 8 weeks old, Rollo was already 14 pounds. Tora was a bit smaller. She would have been 12 pounds. I think she was 4.5 kilos. That's 9, 10. Yeah, she was 11 to 12 pounds. Rollo was already like 6 kilos, which is like 14, 15 pounds at 8 weeks old. Just the craziness of two puppies of that age and that size. I was just, I really think this was a good idea. They looked cute when we met them at the breeder's house, and there were 12 in their litter. So we met 12 puppies when we went and met them. And I get oh, they're going to destroy everything. They're going to ruin my home. They're going to dig through the garden. Oh, what are we going to do? Yeah, it turned out all right. But I can see where some people come from. It's hard, man. It's hard to raise dogs, especially
Yeah.
if like you said, everyone's an individual. Dogs are just as individual as humans. They all have their particular personality traits, and learning how to work with them rather than against them is not always easy. Uh, Certainly, us humans, we do like to try and control things. We, I've seen that a lot of times. I just want the dog to not do this. Yeah, but you need to understand the reason of why it's doing it first before you can figure out how to stop it.
Right.
Otherwise, you're gonna be in for a world of conflict. So you're just trying to either punish the dog or tear your hair out because it's done something you don't want again. I figured out quite quickly with my two. If I wasn't paying them enough attention as puppies and they were in the garden, they would start doing something bad that they'd previously realized got me running. I see them trying to dig under the fence into the neighbor's garden. I would come running out and stop them, usually with a "Oi, don't do that," or whatever, some form of shout. That became a habit. Whenever I wasn't paying them attention, I was doing something in the house, so finishing up work at 5 o'clock because this was in the days of COVID. We were all locked down here because we live in a communist state in Victoria. We couldn't go out of our houses. And the dogs would be in the garden. And if I hadn't paid them attention for a few minutes, I'd go there and they'd kind of be looking at me as I come out the door, having dug the hole. Like, yeah, we got you running. See, we know how to get your attention. I was like realizing that you've actually built a bad habit yourself because of the way you react to something they were doing you didn't want them to do. That they piece together the puzzle of okay, if I want his attention, all we got to do is this. Yeah, okay, I know what to do now. Stop ruining
And
my
that's a
garden.
good point that I haven't talked about that in a long time. I'm a firm believer that when you're training a dog, they don't know that you're training them. They believe that you're training or they're training you. So let them think that, and just
Yeah.
use the reverse psychology on them, man. Sometimes it works out good.
Yeah, it's always a negotiation. The behavior sets that both of you have and end up with as a relationship you interact with your dog is always that negotiation of who's running who's causing whose behavior. Yeah, of course, it's dynamic. It's never a set thing. It's never you always causing the dog's behavior. It's never the dog's always causing yours behavior. Always a dynamic interaction in that respect. Yeah, of course. Like I like to tell people, the environment is what drives behavior. Environment is what determines what behavior is suitable and appropriate. There's a funny little story with that one that I got from Chase Hughes. It was like when you're talking to someone, exactly like you and I doing, say to give the example of how environment drives behavior. Are either of us sat here naked? No. Well, both of us will be when we go and get in the shower later and or earlier, depending on what time zone you're in. It's appropriate to get naked to get in the shower. We will all go and do that at some point. When you're sat down chatting to someone on TV, internet, whatever, or if you're going into the office, you're not naked because the environment determines what is the appropriate behavior for you to do. And wearing clothes when you're doing something like this is appropriate. And it's the same for your dogs. Your dogs are an environment to you, and you are an environment to your dogs. How you interact is then guided by other parts of the environment as to what's appropriate and who's driving who. So all of it is a continual dynamic negotiation based on the environment you're in, what you're trying to achieve, be that teaching a behavior, teach, don't do that, whatever it might be. So yeah, it's always dynamic, always. That's another thing people find hard to wrap their head around. It seems like you've probably come across
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's people just have a very black and white way of thinking about things, and it's most especially when it comes to behavior. But anytime you're dealing with another live, whether you're talking about humans or animals, reptiles or mammals, it doesn't really matter. When it comes to
that.
behavior, personality traits, whatever you want to call it, it's
Mm.
it's kind of like a river, man. It's a flowing thing that never stops. As you experience things, as you live your life, the different environments you're in, the different things that happen to you, it's all going to shape your behavior from the time you're
Yep.
born until the
Yep.
time you die. You're never set in stone at any point.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. Absolutely. And your operant conditioning is completely dynamic your entire life with everything you come across every single moment of every day. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a strange one to think about, but it's true. Yeah, it's totally true. Everything you do changes the way your brain considers the world around you. Every time you re-interact with the same people, your brain is continually updating the mental model you have of that person,
Yep.
which is weird when you think about it. Who was I listening to the other day? I can't remember who I was listening to, but someone was saying like, you don't actually know another person. That's not something we can do. What you actually have inside your own brain is a mental model of another person. And so, what you're running, your predictive brain is running scripts on that mental model of that person to try and figure out what you think they'll do or how they'll react to something. And each time you get that right, you reinforce that mental model of, and to some extent, you form a bond with them when you've predicted successfully. But you've not actually necessarily even conversed with them to form that bond. You've interacted with the avatar of them you have in your own brain. But when that avatar and they agree and you meet and you do stuff, you get the reward centers in your brain lighting up and forming a deeper bond. When that avatar and their actions don't match, your operant conditioning loop spins into something else that says your mental model was wrong. We need to adjust that. We've got to kill a part of that. We've got to figure this out. And sometimes and that's what causes disagreement and anger between people. Like you did something wrong. But no, your mental model of them was wrong. They did what they did based on their who they really are. Like your mental model was wrong. That causes disagreements. When I start thinking about that, my brain just went, "Poof, yeah, this is deep. This is where this is on the limits of my ability to comprehend. This is crazy." But it's the same for your dog. You form a mental model of your dog from the interactions you have with it that leads you to predict what you think its actions will be in a certain scenario. And when those actions play out as you predicted in your head, everything's cool. You feel great. You bond with the dog. But when that goes wrong and your dog does something you didn't predict or you didn't expect, that's when you start to get the disconnect and you can get angry or you can get worried. And do I even understand my dog? Do I know what's going on? Maybe I need to learn more. And you can start to get resentment if you don't understand what's going on. But there's a very interesting, different way of thinking about it. It's like you don't actually know anybody. You have a mental model in your head. What? Okay. Very
Yeah,
strange.
dude, that's a piece of fat to chew on right there, isn't it?
Oh, there you're back.
Yep. Yeah,
I lost
sorry,
you.
man. It's getting dark out here. I don't think you can even see me at all anymore,
No,
can you?
I can't see you. No, you're just a black screen.
Okay. All right. Well, shit, I hate to cut it short, but if it's that dark, then I guess we got to cut it off. I'd be more than glad to talk to you again sometime if you want.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, let's do it. Well, we'll put more of a hard agenda together so we can actually get into some topics because I know you've got a little bit of reading in the background and some of the more technical topics in behavior and I've heard your
All
recent
right.
shouting match with a certain individual where we can tackle some of those because yeah I have some agreements with him and some disagreements with him and some agreements with you and disagreements with you but they're in the more technical side so we'll see but yeah we'd certainly like to do that.
All right, yeah, man. Well, it sounds good. I appreciate you getting on here with me tonight or
Yeah.
this morning, whichever it is for you.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been a
morning.
good couple of hours here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
All right, man. Well, look, enjoy your day. I'm gonna get myself inside and eat me some dinner.
Yeah. Enjoy. Catch you later.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.